For this video, I'm going to take you for a tour of Vernon's Antique Car Museum located in Swift Current, Newfoundland. So I recently had the opportunity to spend a couple weeks on the beautiful island of Newfoundland. It really is a beautiful place, and it's definitely one of the most sparsely populated places I've ever been. I'm just hugely impressed with the entire province. The natural beauty of it, it's just been completely unspoiled by people. And for someone like me who grew up in Florida, which is the urban sprawl capital of the world, it's just such a dramatically different place between all the hills and mountains and, coming from someplace like Florida, which is just completely flat. Florida has like 4 seasons: summer, and fall. And you go up to Canada where you got like these legitimate winters with 80 inches of snowfall. It's just a wild change of pace. So right now I'm in a museum located off of Route 210. Now this is one of the major highways that runs down the Burin Peninsula in Newfoundland. And this highway is also referred to as the Heritage Run. When I came here to Vernon's Antique Car Museum, it was definitely one of the highlights of the trip. If you spend any time on this channel, you'll realize that I focus a lot on theme parks and amusement parks. Well, the island of Newfoundland doesn't have one. So I started to investigate other tourist attractions, and that's how I ended up here. Now, this particular car museum has about 60 classic cars on display, and I was completely blown away by just how many rare and unusual cars he had. I'm what you would call a car guy. I'm really into classic cars. I grew up watching a bunch of car-centric TV shows as a kid, whether it was Dukes of Hazzard, Hardcastle McCormick, or Knight Rider. I really just got into cars doing that, and my initial interest in them were in the Mopar scene. And as someone who's very familiar with Dodge and Plymouth muscle cars and the limited production numbers of a lot of them, I was just completely blown away by all the Hemi cars that he had here. And it's just incredible. I mean, these are incredibly rare cars. Many of them were produced in the handfuls to hundreds of them a year. And he's got like multiple Hemi cars, pristine, totally restored, frame off restorations. And I was just completely impressed. I mean, this is an incredible car museum. Before I came, I wasn't expecting a lot. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, it's Newfoundland. They're an isolated island. What could he possibly have here? I guess if you think about it, they do have a ferry boat where you can get your car over here in a matter of like 6 hours from the Canada mainland. So I guess that's definitely not going to be a factor holding people back to, establish one of these incredible car museums here on the island. As for the admission prices, these are in Canadian dollars. Adults pay $12.50 to get in, and youths ages 2 to 12 pay $7. For an American tourist like me, coming up to Canada is a bargain because, American dollars go about 30% farther because of the exchange rate. So let's talk about some of the amazing cars here. I think one of the highlights for me was the 1933 Chrysler Imperial that he had. That was the red and black one. And it was one of just 36 produced back in 1933. Another car that I was really fond of was the yellow 1970 Dodge Charger RT that he had. It was obviously a 426 Hemi, and they only produced 124 of them back in 1970. And out of all of them, there was only one that was ever produced in yellow with the performance hood and the engine call-out that said Hemi on it. So it's one of one. He did have several beautiful Ford Mustangs. I really was a fan of the Shelby, but I think my all-time favorite one was his 1969 Ford Boss Mustang, the one that was black. They only produced 857 of them that year. I mean, what more can I say about it? It was a 429 Boss Mustang in that menacing-looking black. I mean, just a stunning-looking car in person. And if I have some Corvette guys in the audience, I can tell you he's got a stunning 59 Corvette here. It's red and white. Just meticulous, absolutely pristine. They just did a bang-up job of restoration on it. And, for me, I absolutely love that body style of Corvette. I grew up watching a TV show in the 80s called Riptide, and they also had a C2 on that TV show. And, it's a great body style, and I love those cars. So what's my bottom line for Vernon's Antique Car Museum? I think this is a tourist attraction that appeals to pretty much all ages. I remember being enamored with classic cars even as a kid. It's definitely affordable. It's a good value compared to the other offerings here in Newfoundland. The only downside I can think of is it's kind of a drive. There aren't a lot of things to do in Swift Current. I definitely had a lot more options when it came to tourist attractions when I was down near Marystown or Bonavista. I do think the location is the biggest drawback because as a professional tourist that travels all around the world, I do like when attractions are located nearby so I can hit 2 or 3 in a day. And the downside to Vernon's is it's not really that easy to pull that off. And kind of focusing on the location again, if you're a tourist that came in through the airport, either through Gander or St. John's, it's about a 2-hour drive to get here. It's not exactly in the best location when it comes to getting all the tourists that come in, but they seem to do okay. I mean, this is a really well-maintained museum, and they've got an incredible collection of cars. Despite the location, they seem to be thriving. Well, that pretty much wraps up all my thoughts on Vernon's Antique Car Museum. For the rest of this video, I'm just going to play some music to wrap it up. thanks for joining me on this tour of Vernon's Antique Car Museum. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. See you next week on The Adventure Schmuck.